Today's prayer is, Dear God, today is December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. 80 years ago today, at 7:48 a.m. on a Sunday morning, we were attacked. Give us a reminder of a time of great evil in the world. We also remember those who stood their ground, those who fought on all battlefronts to ensure that evil would not prevail. We thank you that in the hour of need, you gave men and women the strength and the resolve to stand whatever the cost. May those brave souls who still remain here with us in mind and in spirit, may we thank them for their bravery and sacrifice. Amen.
Amen.
Gary?
On December 1st, I approved under resolution number 21-159 supplemental or appropriations transfer to provide funds to complete payments to the Geauga Agricultural Society prior to year end, and transfer from the auditor in the REEF fund to provide appropriations in their payroll accounts to cover expenses to the end of the year. And on December 1st, under resolution 21-160, I approved an appropriations transfer to reverse an appropriation transfer 2021-3814 from November 23rd, 2021 that contained a transposition error in the financial system, and issue a new one with the correct amount. So it's just the numbers got transposed when they were put.
Okay.
And that's number one. And then number two is on December 3rd, I approved for the Department on Aging an unpaid personal leave of absence for Hannah Hines, Recreation and Education Assistant, for 40 hours during the period January 24th, 2022 through January 28th, 2022. This will extend her probationary period by an additional week, 40 hours. And approve for the Airport Authority the request for partial payment number 5 for Hummel Construction for the T-Hangar project in the amount of $269,013.40.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, number 3, the Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute the minutes for the meeting of October 19th, 2021.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner DeWort.
Yes.
The next item is payment request number 13 from Donley's for the new building in the amount of $2,029,705.21.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon.
Yes.
Commissioner DeWort.
Yes.
Not sure.
Okay.
So on the financials today is the transfer for ADP for the new black box contract. There were some questions that arose last time we tried to put this through. So Auditor Walder and Chief Administrator of ADP, Frank Antonucci, are here to address any of your questions prior to considering that transfer again today on the financials. So if, I don't know, Chuck and Frank, if you want to.
Sure, come on up.
Yep.
Morning.
Morning.
How's everybody?
How are you?
Good.
Good. What's happening? How are you? Good. Okay.
So these will be real quick.
Oh, great.
So, there's been a series of issues that we've addressed, both in ADP's board as well as with the commissioners in a joint meeting. And this document kind of summarizes the sequence of events that have occurred. So on September 15th, everyone in the county experienced an attack, a phishing attack by Leadership Geauga. It was considered what's called a man-in-the-middle attack. So it attempted to perpetrate a third-party intermediary to get somebody to click on a link, which would then expose credentials into our back-end system, allowing people to gain entry. We had about a dozen or so people who did click on the event. The worst scenario was at the engineer's office where they clicked and deep dove and provided credentials. So we had to do some remediation of about a dozen to 18 workstations were actually taken offline, wiped. No data was lost, no money was lost, but that was the beginning of what we saw to be an attack on our infrastructure. We held a emergency meeting, it was a special meeting for ADP on September 22nd, where we went into executive session.
So, Chuck, let me,
Yeah.
so leadership, Geauga, was this something that was linked from them, or was this the test portion of it?
No, they actually had a breach.
They were hacked.
Okay.
So then they took their address book, which included anybody at the county who had business with Leadership Geauga, and this attack used those credentials, those email addresses, to send this phishing expedition. And what it was a link that said, click here for your invoice. So anybody who was going to a Leadership Geauga event would expect an invoice. And people clicked on it. And then it said, please enter your credentials. Well, that should have given everybody, this is not normal. But people did type in credentials. And when they did, it basically exposed our network to them. That was the deep dive. Fortunately, it didn't get very far. As soon as it got one layer into our system, we tracked it and stopped it, but it originated at Leadership Geauga. And to this day, Leadership Geauga is not able to email the county. We've isolated them until we're confident their remediation has been done. Frank has been working with their executive director. So, I mean, you can't, they were hacked, so they didn't create the virus, but they were the perpetrator into the system. So then we conducted an ADP meeting on the 22nd where we basically uncovered this to the ADP board to say, be aware, this is going on. It doesn't usually end with one attack attempt. It usually, once they see somebody clicks, the perpetrator doubles down because they get reporting of who clicked and what email address domain was clicked on, and then they start trying over and over and over. We then met again on October 20th as an ADP board, and we decided to go and hire an outside company who was a specialist in vulnerability testing of environments. So we hired a black box who partners with a company called Paranet. And Paranet is a national corporation. They do a lot of work for government, mostly Department of Defense. They came in and they did about a 3-week deep level penetration test on our system. They attempted to penetrate our system from external sources, and then they tried to penetrate within our system. So they tried to cross-penetrate, if you will. The results of that is what that hour-and-a-half meeting we had on November 8th and 9th. On the 8th, they came in and they actually walked through our facility. And they wanted to see where our servers were, what kind of network switches we used, all of the consumable type of things. And then they gave a series of recommendations, which, admittedly at that meeting was like drinking from a fire hose. I mean, they were just giving you everything under the sun that could be wrong. The summary of that is this page, which is probably the most relevant. So I've identified by department where the categories of vulnerability are and broken them up. The munis as a whole include Bainbridge, Chester, and Chardon. They have 426 what they called critical issues. These are issues that need to be fixed within 60 days. We are already working on the Chester, Chardon, and Bainbridge issues. ADP is helping them. Some of it involves some hardware purchases that they need to update that were out of service. Others involve workstations that were perhaps end of life, so the wrong operating system. And some of them even involve something as simple as patches to software. They had versions of Adobe Reader, for example, which had a vulnerability in it, which is minor, but it showed up in our credibility test.
Because it could be exploited over the network.
So that's how the munis broke out. Health District has 49 criticals and then some others. Commissioners as a whole have 2,580. That's a lot. The bulk of them are in 4 departments: Aging, DES or EMA, Transit, and Water Resources. We need to decide where we throw the resources at to start conquering those critical issues. ADP took the bulk of anything we couldn't assign to somebody, we gave to ADP. They had about 340 that they have to deal with. I had 71 in my office, courts had 57, engineers had 76. We are remediating the engineers as we speak. We couldn't wait because they were the victim of an attack. Subsequent to the leadership Giaga attack, they were, was called brute force attack over Thanksgiving. Their website was attempted to be penetrated. Fortunately, we house their website off-site. We don't do it in the county. So we could off-site load that resource. We just called the vendor and said, gotta fix it, which is our long-term goal, right? Our long-term goal is not to house all these servers because we become the vulnerable party and we are the remediation source. Outsourcing them allows other resources to be able to spend their energies to resolve their security issues. Prosecutor is 284, which is very misleading. A prosecutor has because of their investigation unit, they have what we consider to be acceptable vulnerable systems. Systems which are known to be vulnerable because they are doing some searches on the dark web for criminal activity. So that's going to show up in our test as a vulnerable site. But it's kind of like the sheriff. You want to have that. You want to have some vulnerability because you're using that to fool the perpetrator. Public defender has a handful, recorder had 6, sheriff had 96, treasurer had 2. The treasurer, the engineer,
We remediated the treasurer immediately because of the financial implications. The engineer is putting about $100,000 in remediation into their situation right now, and the court spent a significant part of this past weekend checking off their remediation. And the auditor has done a couple of...
the switches are all changed over. So where that leaves us is where do we go going forward? What's the plan? I think that was the question, Tim, that you posed. So I kind of look at what we're doing, no different than building a building, right? You don't just go right away and start signing contracts to start putting walls up. You first determine what are your needs, right? What is your assessment of need? So just like the county went out and said, what's the study requirement of space and all of that thing, we did the same thing with this vulnerability test. That was kind of our need study. That produced this bucket of problems. And then we need to now do similar to what the county did. You, again, don't just go start building a building. What things will get the most bang for the buck? And you focus on those first. So that's what the second round of money is. The first round of money I paid for out of ADP. I don't have any money left. I burnt about $48,000 on the primary assessment. It was not accounted for in the budget, but we had to do it. What we're asking for now is to hire a black box, give them 260 hours. Is that about it? They're going to work with ADP to give us the short list. Which things do we need to focus on now? Where's our best place to put our money? And then what can we put off into this foreseeable future, preferably when we do the move to the new building, because new equipment's going to get loaded there, and some old equipment's going to get taken offline. That will help resolve some of those issues. If we were to attack all the issues right now, we would be attacking things that are going to be replaced anyway. I don't want to do that. I don't think that's cost effective. So we thought it's cheaper to spend $48,000 now with Black Box to find where the money should be, where's the sweet spot to spend the money, than just go out and start spending money on switches, which run anywhere between $14,000 and $18,000 a pop, and burn that money overnight. So that's in a nutshell what we're looking for with these hours with Black Box.
So they're basically acting as a consultant, and this is round 2. My question is, where are we in this process? I mean, do we have a budget? Do we have some bumpers here? Or
We do.
Is
You know,
this,
similar to what you guys did with
Yeah,
the building,
yeah.
we have what we think is worst case scenario, and then we have where we want to be. Worst case scenario we're viewing is about $1 million, is what they were telling us. When you add up all of the services, all of the equipment, you're going to have to spend about $1 million. The question is, $1 million over what period of time? That's what we need this study to tell us. What things can we move off that are not critical and vulnerable right now, and which things will go away by natural movement of the facility to a new building? That's the trick. So we've got all of these unknowns that we need to resolve before we can start spending the money. First is, where is our data center going to be located? That's a huge issue. If it's located where it's at now, we're going to have to throw a lot of money at it. If it moves to a more secure environment, we don't have to spend as much money on it. So those questions have to be answered. And I know we're in the middle of that discussion, so I don't want to spend it and then decide, well, we're going to move it so we don't need that money anyway, because we've already spent it.
what is ADP's budget? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but what is it historically been roughly?
Around $460,000 to $470,000.
And that's mainly just salaries?
That's
and
Mostly personnel, but also contract services,
Yeah.
internet,
Phones.
phones, that sort of thing.
And part of their recommended remediation involves phones. And as you know, we took the phones over from maintenance 2 years ago, and we've cut about 40% out of that cost. They're telling us now the best solution long-term for the county is to push phones to a cloud. Because all those servers go away.
Yeah.
All those security risks go away. For some reason, and I don't profess to understand exactly why, these perpetrators love to attack your phone system. What are you getting from that? I don't know, but it's a way in, and because our phones are voice over IP, it is our backbone. So moving it off-site and in the cloud becomes more secure, because if it's violated, it's violated with somebody else's engine, not ours. And they can remediate.
I mean, I agree with what you guys are doing, trying to stop this, obviously the immediate threats, but looking at this like the long-term project and getting us up to speed. I mean, that's always been from all of us, we've all known it, that we're behind the times in IT, I think. I mean, not that the county has to be cutting edge, but, I think we're stuck a little bit.
I think Stone Age was
Yeah,
better than we're at.
right. But I also know about money, and I don't know a lot about IT, but I know about money, and I know about sales and people selling me. And, when I hear multiple times over and over and over again that I'm not a salesman and I'm not here to sell you anything, it starts to get my radar up a little bit. I just want to make sure that we know going in what, first of all, we can afford to do or afford not to do, in those cases. But, this isn't just a blank check either.
No, I
and
get
I
it.
hope these guys understand that.
Well,
We're not just going to.
we have kind of taken, you heard me at the meeting.
Yeah.
They're talking, I think they started throwing out numbers of people we should be hiring.
Right.
It's like, that's not happening.
Right.
I mean, I don't know where they're getting this from.
Right.
But, yeah, in a perfect world, when you have infinite resources, I guess you just start writing checks.
There you go.
The real world is, there are some things we can do to avoid having to hire resources by moving things to the cloud. That cuts, you may pay a little bit of money for that service, but you don't have to put the resource with healthcare provision and retirement provisions on staff. And then if, they're not busy one day, you're paying the Maytag repairman, which I don't want to do.
Exactly.
I'd rather pay a cloud service, and if it breaks, it's your problem.
Exactly.
But you have to pick good services, and you have to put reliable services and ones that are safe. So we are partnering with Company 119 on our web initiative, and Black Box was not fully aware of that. They were tangentially aware. That's going to remediate a bunch of our critical issues, we believe. And we're only 40%, 45% of the way through that.
Yeah.
And part of it is because we're just waiting to get these websites done.
So it sounds like a lot of these issues are hardware, just old, outdated stuff? Or
Not a lot.
No?
I would say half is probably hardware, the other half is software and services.
That just haven't been updated.
Correct.
Right. The hardware parts are mostly servers and workstations that are out of life.
And some
Okay.
switches.
Some switches, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So the courts were a huge issue with those.
Mhm.
Courts had, Frank took offline 13 servers the first week he was here.
We've been working on that as a group, but there was a big one that went offline this past weekend that significantly increased their security.
Because I see this as being, obviously the money all comes from, one pot at some point, I guess, if you boil it all down. But I see this as, not just something that we're going to do overnight, but this is going to have to be thought of in a different way as far as budgeting goes. And I think it'll have to come through departments and other elected officials' offices instead of just maybe, one lump sum out of the general fund.
No, I agree.
Because we're not going to do this, in the next couple of weeks here or
No,
something, right?
we do have a
Yeah.
60-day window that we have to resolve the critical ones, because the critical ones, right now, we're vulnerable. And we know where those are. We're not publishing where we are with those. We know what the checklist is.
Do
if
you need
will.
money to fix those?
That's what we want Black Box to come in and
Okay.
say, let's fix those problems. And then, how soon do we have to fix the second stage? They gave us a 60-day, 6-month, 18-month set of timelines.
Okay.
I'm not worried about the 18-month right now. I'm trying to get through the 60-day and the 6-month.
Have they given you any indication of, I'm not looking for specifics, but like you said, so we're in the beginning stages of this, it sounds like in the discovery stage or whatever, and now we're going to start applying it. But, are we gonna be coming back here in another 3 months looking for another 60, 70 grand?
Well,
go
I don't know.
again, or-
I mean, we are, there's definitely gonna be money required to buy hardware if this study says this is where your money is best spent. Replace these switches, which are long life use, and they are vulnerable and they're out of service. You
Okay.
cannot replace them.
Okay,
You have to put new in. If they tell us that, we have not budgeted for that. Now, some of those switches may in fact be in the budgets of these departments. Some may be, for example, I know one switch was servicing on my MVP system, which is Reef. So Reef will have to buy that switch if that's what's required. The engineer is doing that with some of his. I don't anticipate the general fund owning all of this, but we don't know where the low-hanging fruit is.
right,
I gotta figure that out.
okay.
So, again, what they gave us is the fire hose approach.
Right.
I need to get this down so I can actually drink the water.
Okay, and so they'll be coming in here rolling up their sleeves with us on this next.
We want to use
Yeah.
them as a consultant,
Yeah.
not as the lead. We want to be the lead because we know where we want to spend. They don't know all the inner workings of
Okay.
what we do.
Okay,
And I'm hesitant to have them come in and just start with A and go through Z. I don't think that's well spent.
right, because I don't, I just look at it as, if this was, your business or my, you'd want to be very close in touch with the financials on this.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just want to make sure they're not just saying, giving us the gold-plated version, and we're just saying, okay, because
No,
we don't know any
and-
different, or.
And I think the thing that is
Yeah.
the biggest concern to me, Tim, and just like in your business, you have to look at warning signs too.
Mhm.
If this were just somebody coming and telling us you've got a problem and we don't see that problem anywhere, then I start to question, you just trying to sell me something for
Right,
nothing?
right.
But the reality is, we are seeing attacks.
Okay.
We are, every day, we have people that are doing nothing but putting out that fire. We had a series of 2 systems that were in the sheriff's station that were actually tunneling through a back door because of a login problem. And somebody got credentials and was tunneling through our system electronically. And so those are real events. And you have to take those real events and then apply what they're telling you and saying, where's the middle ground here?
That's right,
I'm not the advocate of everything they said in there was what we're going to do.
right,
But I want to hear everything they have to say.
yeah,
And now I want to cherry pick and where can I get the most bang for the buck?
fair enough.
So,
No, I appreciate you guys.
yeah, and
jumping on
I'm
this.
sorry we
I'm
didn't
not-
do this
I'm not
earlier.
trying to
We're in triage mode.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we are putting
Yeah.
out the fire as
Yeah.
we speak. But comes with the turf.
No, it's good to know, And that was, after I left that meeting, that was kind of the lingering question in my head is like, what's this gonna cost?
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
Oh, I know.
yeah,
The downside, and I think they explained that, the downside is, if you do nothing, what does it cost you? And if you do everything, what does it cost you?
that's right.
So there's a part in between those
Yeah.
two. If you do nothing, we all know, if we get ransomed, it's gonna cost us
In all
millions.
fairness, this is something, in hindsight's 2020, but we should have been addressing this years ago, right?
10 years ago, they
Right,
should have been.
piece by piece by
Yes.
piece.
We are working with
Yeah.
stuff that has been out of service since 2008.
Right,
Yes.
right. That's what I mean.
2008, I mean, give me a break.
And it's
I mean,
gotten much more aggressive, right, in the last few years,
Yeah.
I think, than.
Last 6 months.
Yeah, right, yep. Even just, I've been seeing email, I've been forwarding around to the prosecutor and the sheriffs, a lot of these scams where they're looking
Yeah.
for you to punch in your information and.
Well, we had the secondary hit that the engineers took was they got we had 2 events of a payroll scam where somebody sent an email to the payroll person in the department that said, please change my automatic deposit to this new bank account.
Mhm.
And it was a true employee. The names all matched. They bypassed their own procedure and they sent it to my office to process. Well, we have a series of steps that we go through. We put you into a hard check mode for one pay cycle. So that, let's say Ralph said, change my deposit. Well, he's gonna get a hard check for one time, and if he really didn't authorize that, he's gonna call me and say,
Why did I get a hard
why did I get a hard check?
Right,
Why
right.
didn't it go in my bank like I asked you to?
Right.
Well, because you asked for it to be changed. No, I didn't, and that's what happened.
Right.
This employee called and
That's
said,
good.
where's my check? I said, we mailed it to you. And he said, why did you mail it? Because you requested a change. It was a fictitious bank account,
Unbelievable,
and it had been processed.
yeah.
So it requires all of us to have a series of procedures that try to stop this stuff. But you can imagine, it's a matter of numbers. If you get 100 of
gonna
those
get
a day,
it, yeah.
are you gonna miss one? There's a better probability.
Mhm.
And you miss one, and all of a sudden you're making deposits into a fictitious bank account. Someone's gonna be asking for their money back.
So has that happened more than once?
twice. It's
Twice.
We, the second one never got that far. It came after the first one. The
Mhm.
first one got caught in that interim period, the hard
Well,
check
I
period.
like the approach after you guys, explained everything detail by detail. And it's a balancing act. I mean, we have to look at how much money goes in the next 2.5 years or 3 years or whatever for ADP and for cyber attacks. And it's like, well, even preventive medicine, I'm sure other counties and other municipalities have been hit with, the ransomware for $4, $5, $6 million. And this is a process that we really have to jump into.
Yeah, and I just to add real quick, I think, moving forward into our next budget cycle, I think we should look at ADP differently maybe and seeing how that's
I think it's gotta be
funded.
funded differently.
Yeah.
I think it's gotta be funded through departmental
Yeah.
activities.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I
mean,
know
unless-
Reef paid for part of the first study because I had two vulnerable
I mean,
systems that I had to get.
if let's say if ADP is gonna truly be the IT for the entire county, including everyone, and then, instead of departments having, their own inside person, it's gonna, at some point, they're gonna rely heavily back on ADP. And if ADP doesn't have the resources to accommodate that, then they're gonna wanna
That's right.
bring that back into under their own.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think that's on a larger discussion, I think at some point, which will include everybody in the county
Yep.
on the way they wanna fund that.
And the move to the new building will make this incredibly more efficient
Yeah,
than what it is right now,
absolutely.
which is a huge.
That's the
huge
idea,
plus.
right? Is
Oh.
to
Well, yeah,
consolidate.
I don't know how much we're divulging, but our goal is, you got a brand-new facility which is much more secure
Mhm.
than the basement of
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
Main Street where there's water when it
Well,
rains. I mean, it's crazy.
Frank took me through a little tour over there, and I think what he's coming up with is a good idea. I don't know if he's taking over
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We've
Okay.
triaged that to death, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
And I think the more of the infrastructure that we can move to that new facility,
Mhm.
just from a fire and a risk perspective, the
Absolutely.
smarter we are.
Yeah.
Nothing against downtown, but
It's
it's old. I
It's
mean,
in
the
a
stuff-
basement,
it's in
a wet old
and
basement.
There's water lines over top of it. It's like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
We knock on wood, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's the one thing that Chuck said that I think is to keep in mind is that number you threw out of $1 million, the portion of that is already included in the moved in the new building.
That's right.
So it's not,
Yeah, that's a good
at the end of the
point,
day,
Jerry.
it's not gonna be,
Okay.
even
We're
at
not
the
looking at
max,
another $1 million.
that number's not gonna be $1 million.
I see.
And, again, I'm giving you ranges.
Right.
Our goal is to push that number down by doing things that give you magnified benefit, not to just go after everything that's identified, because some things are naturally gonna go away.
Mhm.
As we move all these websites out to some other service, all of those vulnerabilities and all those critical issues go away.
Right.
So
I mean-
why throw money at it?
I mean, I remember when I first got here, the prior thought was the iCloud was
Cloud's
bad.
bad, I know.
Yeah.
Well, it is if you
Yeah.
don't know what you're doing with it.
Right.
I mean, you don't put it in the hands of Iranians, I mean,
Right.
you don't do that, right? You put it in domestic, cloud-based systems that have good redundancies, and you know where they're
I
located.
mean, our banking system does it.
Amazon, I mean,
everybody,
yeah,
yeah.
everybody buys all day
Yeah.
long on
Yeah.
that cloud. So
Yeah.
if it's secure enough for that, and the government's going all cloud as a
Yeah.
general rule.
Yeah.
Not that they're always right, but, I mean, in this case, I think it is sound. Most of the law enforcement initiatives, when you drive in with the videos, those are all cloud-based.
Mhm.
Because you can't house that many servers, it's
Mhm.
just overwhelming.
Good. Well, I appreciate you guys coming in and explaining it. I feel a lot better. I figured that's what you were gonna say, but, I just wanted to, I appreciate it.
Sure. And you want to give them the good news?
Well, we do have a complete breakdown of everything that does need to be remediated based on all the departments. I'm not sure if that's something that you want to have on hand. It is considered a secure document, but you're welcome to it all. We have it broken down by everything within the commissioner's hiring authority that needs to be remediated and everything within the rest of the county.
I mean, you may want to,
Yeah.
you want to go over it page by page today?
I can take
I don't think I
a copy.
have
get some
enough
coffee.
battery, Chuck.
I got a couple minutes. But we thought you should have a copy of it, and again, that's what they've identified. I'm not an advocate of just saying, let's just start attacking all those.
Mhm.
That's not what I'm saying. But you can't ignore it either, that there's that common ground.
I mean, when, not to get back into this again, but when you see a big thing where it says critical issues, I mean, are some of those things like simple fixes that can
Yes.
just be like something, I don't, you
Let's
know.
take the treasurer, that's a good example. Treasurer had 2 critical issues,
Mhm.
which, I mean, I was like begging for 2, right? And they're complaining about 2, it's like,
Mhm.
I'll trade you.
Mhm.
But their 2 were very easy to fix.
So their 2 were easy to fix, and it took 2 of our technicians 8 hours, but it was just all labor. So we lost those people for just 2. They were easy to fix, but they were big issues. So on some of these other ones that are going to take more and more hours, that's why we're hoping to get black boxing for some of that specific stuff to knock that out much more efficiently than what we do.
It could be something as simple as a program that is running on a workstation that is not up to its current version. And that version corrected a vulnerability that was known to exist.
I see.
And the
Like-
penetration
so-
discovered.
Like somebody didn't update it or something.
Or there's not automatic updates built into the
Correct.
system.
Okay.
Right.
And so
Okay.
part of, you'll notice some of the emails that are coming out lately to have people shut down their computers, to lock them out, to force password resets, then forces the computers to provide a lot of the updates that people are sort of getting around by staying logged in all the time
Oh, I
and
see.
getting around some of the
Yeah.
easy
So
stuff.
you're gonna hear pushback from people that say, now we gotta change our password every so often, and we've gotta reboot our system once a day.
Mhm.
Well, you can't update some software unless you do a reboot. There's some software that requires it.
I see.
So if they were preventing the reboot, they were preventing the update.
And just letting these things run open.
And then they
whatever.
become critical and
Yeah.
become exposed environments.
Okay.
And we have to retrain our people, in a sense,
Yeah.
to
Yes.
let
Yeah.
that happen.
Yeah, that's part of it, yeah.
That's one of the other advantages of bringing back black box in, I think, is they're gonna be able to look at it and say, well, this one thing that everybody does can solve
Yes.
40 of these issues,
Right.
instead of going and having 40 individual critical issues. You
And
just
and
clarify.
that's a good
Absolutely.
point.
That's a great
The
point.
other thing that we were clear with black boxes, when they say kid identify 200 critical issues, that doesn't mean there's actually 200 separate things.
Mhm.
One thing could result in a
That's
fix
what I
of
was
100
wondering.
of them.
Yeah.
Because one vulnerable piece of software may have multiple holes in it.
And they don't all cost money, right?
No,
Well, they may
correct.
just cost labor,
Yeah.
it
Some
may
may
just
cost
cost an
labor.
update that's
Yeah.
free, right?
Okay.
One could be an operating system upgrade.
Okay.
Well, we know there's some exposed old operating systems that are not supported by Microsoft anymore, we have to get rid of them.
Yes.
So that's the other debate, is the ADP board is kind of taking the position, if these people don't do these remediations by a certain date, we're gonna shut them off.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's gonna get, now we're really gonna get in people's hair, right?
Mhm.
Because all of a sudden you're gonna tell them, we're flipping these switches on these 5 servers because they're no longer supported. We've gotta get ahead of the game,
Mhm.
or we're gonna have World War III.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
So on number 5, Commissioner's Office is requesting the board approve and execute
Well, he's gonna
resolution.
talk about the financial group. You got some other stuff on there.
Or do you want that separate?
No, this is just the
Okay.
normal, my normal narrative, so
It's
at this
just on
point.
here.
Okay, today's financials include that appropriations transfer from the Commissioner's contingency account to ADP Contract Services to secure the remediation support that is necessary to bring the county's network and IT infrastructure up to current security protocols. There's several cash transfers here from the general fund to building improvements, capital reserve phase 2, 911, senior center construction, and county facility bond retirement funds for future capital expenditures and debt payments. There's a transfer from the general fund capital transfers account to the airport construction fund for the county match on a reimbursement request number 1 for grant 21-03 obstruction removal. This was one that you had approved a while back that when I went back and was reviewing stuff, realized I had never transferred. So
Mhm.
that's why it's, there's not anything else related to this on here currently. It was back in October. Among the vouchers are $2,029,705.21 from the Commissioner's Office to Donnelly's Independence Incorporated for pay request number 13 for the new county office building project. $34,500 from Community Development to Millstone Management Group for block grant work done at Women's Safe. $100,000 from the Engineer's Office to Burton Township for the county portion of road work performed on Station Road. And finally, $465,704 from Water Resources to Viking Painting LLC for pay request number 1 for the Geauga County Water Towers Painting and Improvements Project.
Good deal.
Thank you, Adrian.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Yes.
Commissioner DeBoer?
Yes.
Are they all done with those water towers now? Yeah.
They actually, Well, they're not, the painting's all done. The Bainbridge Township Tower is just coming back online.
Oh, good.
It's all painted.
Didn't the one like
Painted,
pop a
cured.
hole in it or something?
That was
Big,
big.
yeah,
So
yeah.
they had to wait till the paint cured on the inside, fill it, hyperchlorinate it, drain it, fill it again, wait
Okay,
48
just
hours for
cover it.
test to make sure that it's.
Yeah.
Sometimes it handles
So,
it.
it's just,
Just
that one
poke
will
me
be
when
back
it's
online
time.
either tomorrow or Friday.
Okay. Oh, good, okay.
I did sign it, so when you hit it, you'll present it.
Department on Aging?
Nope,
Or,
we're doing the Via Santa to a senior.
Santa?
No.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good.
Go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about the program.
Sure, absolutely. Do you want me to address the whole group or address you?
Whatever you
Both of us,
feel
back and
Okay.
forth.
Hi, my name is Therese Stazar, and I'm a nurse with Home Instead Senior Care. Home Instead started 20 years ago, and this county is a much-needed way to help seniors remain in their home independently. 17 years ago, and I'm proud to say I've been part of the program for 17 years. I was 12 years old at the time, I think, when it's supposed to be my attempt at a joke. But 17 years ago, we started this program to help seniors, our most treasured residents, who were very forgotten during the holiday season, received a much-needed gift of both a gift to open, which brings back nostalgic feelings, as well as the gift of companionship. And this, again, is our 17th year. We'll be serving 110 seniors in conjunction with the Area Office on Aging. And I wanted to share a couple quick stories with you. One would be about 2 years ago, there was a senior in Novelty. And we had been servicing her in conjunction with the Office on Aging. And her house was, every time we showed up, it became apparent that there was some hoarding or cluttering going on. And further investigation, she couldn't afford any kind of garbage services. So the gift that she asked for that year is we got her prepaid garbage bags through a donor in the community that enabled her to have trash service. This donor has continued this every single year so that she can continue to have her trash hauled away. So when I say that the seniors have needs, they're like so simple. I mean, simple things that we take for granted, such in this case, garbage haul away. As we know, our seniors, as well as so many of our Geauga residents, love our pets. So often the requests are things like dog bones and very humble items. But I also want to focus on another huge aspect of the program. And this was several years ago. And I actually had taken one of my small children with me for this visit. And I pull into a home that was not modest and represented a whole other part of Geauga County. And, immediately thought to myself, well, which social worker gave me this name? And, went in to visit the senior and must have stayed for 2 hours and left there in tears. This particular senior had no one. And like so many, again, of our seniors, had outlived every relative, had outlived every friend. It'll make me cry. And in that visit, I realized that social worker recognized that the greatest gift we can give our seniors is the gift of ourselves, the gift of human companionship. And that's a huge part of this program, is not just the gift. I think we had kitchen towels for her. She could have cared less. It was the only gift she was going to open that Christmas. But we were her only visitors. We're the only people who spent time to share our hearts and our love with her that Christmas. And the overwhelming support that this program has gotten from the county commissioners, from the Department on Aging, from the Geauga County residents for the past 17 years is just overwhelming. And the stories are numerous. It's just been an amazing thing to be part of. So we appreciate your ongoing support. We appreciate the proclamation. And we just ask you to continue supporting our most treasured residents in this county, the ones that are nearest and dearest to my heart. And the way that you can participate is we have trees up in the Giant Eagles in Middlefield, Giant Eagle in Chesterland, UH Geauga Medical Center. In the other part of the county, there is one in Buckeye Chocolate in Bainbridge. And also, I know it's out of county, but there's also a large chimney in Menor Mall. So pick up a name, Program's still going on. We'll start our deliveries next week. And, other way you can help is just be aware of your seniors in your community. And if, give them a visit, give them a hello, and help brighten their day. So,
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's really nice, and I'm sure, over the last couple of years through this whole COVID thing, I'm sure it's made it even much more difficult, but, a lot of, I've talked to a couple of seniors in the past, and, there's been a lot of people isolated or even, in fear of going out and seeing other people, and so, that's, I know what you mean, it's that loneliness thing, and just somebody coming to sit down and talk to them and have a cup of coffee with them, or, mean the world. So, are you looking for volunteers? Is that what you do, or?
I would say this year we physically cannot take those volunteers.
Okay.
Our hope is to return to a much more intimate level of interaction. We're working more closely with our Department on Aging than ever before, that we haven't, we're lessening the amount of visits and contacts to the seniors and individuals that are vetted and masked, and a little bit more, it's been, every single year it takes on a different flavor. Sometimes our civil service workers and firemen and police will actually help, sheriff's office. So community volunteers have been part of it, but we have had to be definitely more cautious in using our healthcare workers to make sure we're keeping our seniors safer. And it's definitely put a hinder, because I think the greatest poverty we have is poor spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been really hard not to be spending those couple hour visits.
Absolutely.
Super hard. So.
Well, Teresa,
Yeah, thank you.
thanks
Oh,
thanks
thank
for
you,
coming
guys.
in, and my family has utilized your services over the years, and it's a top-notch organization.
I appreciate that, thank you. So,
You want to keep it?
Yep. Thank you.
Oh, you
is
gave
it
okay.
rude if I leave and go back to work? Is it okay?
No,
All right. I really enjoy the budget things.
Is there a motion on the resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spillier.
Aye.
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Commissioner DeWort.
Yes. Okay, where does that bring us to? Number
Department
7?
on Aging is not here.
This was a motion that was to approve an unpaid medical leave for an employee who's still under probation. And after I approved it in accordance with the requirements. What was it, last week or the week after?
It was a couple days ago,
Yeah,
actually.
and after we approved it, she decided she's not gonna need it. So this is just rescinding that motion.
I'll
Okay.
make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spillier.
Aye.
Commissioner Evans.
Yeah.
Commissioner DeWort.
Yes. Now we're number 8. The airport. Good morning, Rick.
8, 9, and 10.
8, 9, and 10, correct.
Good morning, thank you for your time again. Airport's requesting the administration settlement as part of the grant. The purchase agreement to be signed by you, so that it can be included in the grant application, and then approval for the application for the grant to purchase the Hodgins property that's between our current entrance and our old entrance, so that we're all continuous across and to eliminate the building from the airspace.
Motion on 8?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spillier.
Aye.
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Commissioner DeWort.
Yes. Number 9?
I think Rick did them all.
That was all three of them,
Oh.
basically.
Okay, 8, 9, and 10.
So we just did 8, so can you want to do 9 and 10 together then?
I'll make that motion also.
Second.
Commissioner Spillier.
Aye.
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Commissioner DeWort.
Yes. Okay, we just,
And
Just
while
have
I'm
to sign
here,
it.
anything else I can do for
No, I
you?
appreciate you putting it together on that. I think that worked out. It was a win across the board.
If I will let you know that payment number 5 that was on the financials today, the check for the payment will be done on the 14th.
Okay,
And after that.
great.
Debbie told me that this morning, so.
And I have another one for you coming out this week, probably.
do you want to wait for this, or just going to get up there?
No, I'll get it to him. I'll let him know after. I'll
Okay.
make sure everything is all.
Thank
Good to
you
go.
for your
Yeah,
time.
thanks for working on that.
Okay.
This is the,
Budget Commission?
this is the amended, resolution for the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission, authorizing the necessary tax levies. We had to approve the first one before October 1st. but the county engineer's office had their levy on, and now that it passed, it had to be revised to include, that
Okay.
levy.
Very good.
Is there a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner DeWart?
Yes.
The next item, planning commission, Linda's not able to be here. There's a stormwater planning meeting down at the engineer's office that she had to go to. So this is just a lot consolidation, replat of the lot consolidation of Sandy Hill Estates. The property owners own sublot 11 in the Sandy Hill Estates and the property that was not part of the original subdivision. That's at the intersection of, what's that street, Cherry? Mayfield Road and Cassie.
Cassie Lane.
Sorry.
That's what I was looking for, I was like,
No, yeah, so this is just,
No, it's
this
not.
is just them consolidating it.
Okay.
It wasn't approved by the planning commission.
Okay.
and it's a weird,
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner DeWart?
Yes.
Okay, there's the rubber band for that, and
Where
you
we at?
have to sign
Up here.
in the middle. Watching my battery. Okay.
And you have the third, you have the copy of the resolution for Mike.
I do.
Thank you. Just making sure. Jeff.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, the first two items, it's just, you guys approving, allowing, the administrative grant for the PIP program to come to us for the next period. And number 14 is, this is actually a new program. I think it's only gonna be 1 year. It comes from the American Rescue Plan, and it's it's called the Low Income Household Water Assistance Program, administrative grant, which comes to us to assist people that have been impacted by the pandemic with any water bills, which is kind of interesting because Geauga County mostly has wells. So we do not think that we're gonna be spending
Sure.
a whole portion of this grant, but
No?
It goes through a process. I'm
Okay,
sorry,
no
Craig.
problem, sorry.
Before Chuck signs it, I just want to make sure it has to go through a process for multiple steps of the
what,
process on the plat.
So this, do you have dollars already? Do you know how much it is, or?
yeah, it's on the agenda. It's $196,228.
Where are we?
Oh,
okay,
14.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a grant that's gone throughout the country, throughout the counties. We are receiving it. It's the first time. I think it's going to be a one-time grant from the rescue plan. And
But it's
the
just-
intent was to assist people with their water bills if they're going to have a disconnect or things of that nature.
A
Again,
disconnect.
you know, anyone that's struggling paying their water bills or not timely, to help them, to assist them with that. Again, we don't think we're gonna even come close to.
Do we have to do it?
I mean, it's been appropriated for us. I mean,
This is the first year they've done it?
We've had a couple of people, we think it's only gonna be a one-time thing from, like, we've had, I think, a couple of people that have applied, but again, we do not think that we're gonna spend it, so
Okay.
it'll get sent back.
And what, does this in any way cost us anything?
Nope.
No.
No, I already have staff, they have an administrative portion for it, that we will appropriate our time if we're working on that grant, but again, we just don't think we're gonna spend it all.
Where did this come, like, did they approach us, or did we apply for it, or how
Nope.
did this come about?
No, just like similar to how, the county got the rescue plan, rescue funds for different counties and municipalities and things of that nature. It just got appropriated, and, just like, as you know, when one of the things that you don't wanna watch get made is legislation and sausage. So-
Yeah. What, Jerry, have you heard about this through Water Resources?
No, this is
It's
not.
just an
this isn't
assistance
water
program.
resources,
Yeah.
This is assistance for customers,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not.
And even if somebody's back 6 or 8 months on their water bill, this would take care of it?
I mean, there's eligibility requirements that they have to meet, so it's not anybody, they have to
Well,
be income eligible and all
Low
that.
income.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is pretty helpful.
We just don't think we're gonna have a ton of people
Right.
just because of the nature of the county.
And I pretty much, won't put money on it, but I almost guarantee that it's gonna be residents in Chardon, Burton, and Middlefield.
Exactly.
It's not gonna, where Geauga County has water,
Mhm.
those folks aren't low income.
What are the terms to this? Do they have to pay this money back, or is this, they take care of their water bill?
They assist them.
For how long?
For this season.
How much does each person get?
It all depends on, it's a percentage.
Mm.
It's more complicated than just that they get a certain dollar amount.
Well, communities like Aquila Village is under water, right? I mean, no?
Tim, I can
Just the
forward
sewer.
you, if you want me to forward you
Okay.
any information on the program, I can forward it to you.
Okay.
But again, what you're asking, what you're approving here is just to allow for us to actually run the program through this season. That's all that the action that your guys are taking.
Okay.
Again, we don't think we only approve people that are eligible for it, so that the people come to us, they hear about it, they're
Mhm.
struggling,
Right.
they approve it. I just don't think we're gonna come close to spending it all, is my point.
Mhm.
Is I don't think.
So is it up to your discretion how much you'll pay their bill? Will you pay?
No,
them?
the program will determine that.
Mm.
Do you get any money like 3 or 6% for having your employee administer that?
The administration of the grant is included in
Okay.
what you're approving today.
Got it. Okay.
So that's 13 and 14, and then 15 is we're having one of the real privileges that we get to have, being operating at JFS, is to watching people actually choose to retire from JFS. And so Mike Hino, who's been our MIS supervisor, has been with the agency for 36 years.
No.
And he's been an incredible employee. And so I wrote up an honorary resolution for you guys to sign. So, and I got a plaque and frame to provide him
Nice.
upon his retirement.
What did Mike do for us?
It actually all says it in the resolution.
Oh, does it? Okay.
He's been everything from a carpenter,
Mhm.
back when the department was called the Human Services Department, all the way, he's held, I think, 6 or 7 different positions.
Okay.
He worked in maintenance, but, as kind of technology advanced and we went from typewriters to computers, his talent, he actually got both his associate's and bachelor's degree during his time while he was an employee at JFS, and he used those degrees to improve himself at JFS. And he's incredible and you guys are all talking about viruses and everything this morning about technology and switches and all that. He's just an incredible
So he
talent
helped you
when it
with your
comes-
IT stuff?
Oh, yeah.
and- Yeah. Okay.
And especially during the pandemic, figuring out ways to allow for people to work remotely, get us the equipment. He's just been a tremendous asset. He's a tremendous person, and he's retiring at the end of this month.
Very good. I'll tell him we said thank you.
Yeah, so it's an honor. You're operating a good place when people actually want to choose to retire from it.
Right,
You
right.
know.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
So I guess you kind of jumped around without any motion on that first one. Are you guys feeling comfortable with that grant part?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
You all right with that, Tim?
Um,
I guess my only question to you is this, and I just had this conversation with my daughter last night, is, where do we stop the handouts, I guess, everybody's hiring, can't find help.
We have eight positions open in social services,
Right.
and we're struggling.
And we're continuing to just, as a, and we're part of government, and we're basically, we're enabling this to continue. So you don't wanna go get a job, you wanna sit at home and play, Nintendo all day, and then you call Jobs and Family Service and say, hey, can't pay my water bill, and can you send me a check? And then you're gonna say, well, sure, because we're just this warm-hearted people, while everybody else is busting their ass working to pay for that. And it's finally gets to the point where do we draw the line on this? And, and the problem that I have with this is we do these programs, and then you can't say no. And it's gotta get to the point is people have to finally get to that line in the sand. They gotta get back to work. And we gotta get things back to where people earn a living and pay for what they use. And I'm gonna say no on this. I'll make the motion, but I'm gonna say no with that understanding that I think there's got to be accountability. The problem is if somebody's disabled, truly, somebody's handicapped, truly, somebody's a senior, truly understand that part of it. And I think that we as a board would probably be willing to take money out of the general fund to help people in true need. But I think programs like this have the ability of being abused. And I can't support it, Craig, with all my heart. This is holiday season, I get that. But people have to start to become responsible and accountable. And people need to get back to work. Can't continue because we are basically going to have an absolute deadbeat society.
And sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
don't want to interrupt.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
No, and I understand where you're coming from. When I was first informed that we were going to be receiving this money, and again, we're the county as rural as we are, and it demonstrates that Washington, or sometimes Columbus, doesn't understand what Geauga County is. So here they come and they award us $200,000 without even looking at, well,
Is there a need, or
what
is there a-
what
are we creating
what
the
is the
problem?
what are the demographics of
Yeah.
Geauga County?
Right.
So I understand 100% where you're coming from, and it's the same frustration I have because when we get this, we learn of this grant. Here's these $200,000, and I know, well, we don't get enough, even remotely enough money in adult protective services to even employ one person.
And yet
We
they're
don't-
gonna be
But then
flushing
they'll
money
give
out
us
this way.
flush in this
Yep.
account, and that's kind of where the same goes for, as I know, that, we hear about from the rescue plan, all these different counties and cities and got all this money, one-time money, that we're not gonna even know what to do with, and it's not even all that beneficial. So I understand where you're coming from, and I want you to understand that I myself and my staff understand and share
Right.
your frustration. And we have that too. I just want you to understand the position that I'm in is, here you are, here's this opportunity, it's presented to us, and here you need to go to your county commissioners, and, so we're giving you this, but in order for you to administer this program that has already been decided, the apportionment has already been given out, the allocation, the amount of money has already been given out, so it's my responsibility to come and ask you guys if you want us to receive that money to run that program. That's my role.
Listen,
I get
I
it.
really
We
respect
appreciate
you.
I'm not telling you,
Right.
I want you to come and, the
Just in
situation.
good faith, I just can't do it. It just, this country is so upside down, and I can't be part of enabling it anymore. That, and I
Yeah.
mean, what the other two do is that,
I mean,
I just,
That's I guess my other question was, so this is a 1-year thing, and then it's,
So it's a one-time through the rescue plan to help people that are eligible and are struggling with their water bills for this period of time,
and did we have a...
pandemic related.
I mean, I guess it goes back to my original question. Where did this derive from? Did we have an issue before? Or were we getting phone calls about water bills?
We have never had this program before. This is the first time.
But like you as
Sorry.
an administrator, are you hearing this from the population in Geauga County that we need this?
No, because we had no reason for people to
Okay.
come to us. No, we've had a few people since they've learned of it that have come to us.
In other ways?
No, and they've learned. Can you help with
Okay.
that? I'm
Yeah, I
just
agree.
being frank with you.
The motion's made, I'll second it.
Hold on one second. There's 3 different motions for JFS. The very first one is their Pip Application Grant,
Okay.
which is separate from number 14.
Okay.
So I think maybe we
We
should
do that
look
every
at-
year. That's-
we need to look.
So
Let's
for-
do each one of them
so I'll make the
individually.
motion for the first one for the PIP grant.
Second.
And I'll vote yes on that.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon? Commissioner DeWark?
Yes.
Okay, and then 14 is the one that you guys are currently talking about with the water bill.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler?
No.
Commissioner Lennon?
No.
Commissioner DeWar?
I'd like to, it's amazing that with the $196,000 now, we could use it in other ways. I don't care if it's mental health or like you just explained, this other issue. But, and if we could only, this county and any other county could help somebody in need, and I'd like to see the criteria of, next week or tomorrow, send me the
I'll
email.
forward it to just all you if you just want to.
So we can understand this a little bit, because if there's a lot of criteria of you have to have this much income, you have to have this, or are you disabled?
It is an
and things
income
like-
eligible program.
And things like that. But even if we only spend $10,000 or $20,000 to help somebody's water bill, with all these qualifications of being low income and everything, and that's why I'm gonna vote yes.
I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that, all of us here in Jog County as a government want to help everyone that's in need, right?
Mhm.
But, like you said, we have other places where this money would be put to great use, I'm sure. But for this one, to me, it's just a, we're creating a problem and then trying to solve it or something here, that's how it feels to me. And at some point, like Ralph said too, it's just, you gotta draw a line in the sand. Where does this stop? The money just coming flying at us, and I've heard it for the last year and a half. Well, if we don't spend it, somebody else will. Well, guess what? I can look at myself in the mirror in the morning and be truthful with myself too. So, that's how I feel.
I understand. I understand where the board is coming from.
Yeah.
And share the frustration, and wish
Yeah.
we had more
Yeah.
discretion to utilize these funds where they actually need to be spent.
Okay.
I understand and respect for you.
Yeah.
So
Never.
with that, Craig, that would fail.
Yes, I know. I know.
I can tell.
I'm smart.
I'm like,
I got that feeling.
So is there a motion on 15 for the retirement?
Yes.
Yes, we make that motion.
Second. I tell him, second. Yeah, aye.
Commissioner DeWar?
Yes.
Tell them, say thank you very much.
Will do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you'll get my motion letter as such, but I don't know what you want to
Hey,
do with it.
have you heard anything about the youth center meeting?
Not
or-
much since the last time we
Okay,
met.
okay.
Yeah, people have been getting COVID and.
I think we hired, well, we did, I don't think, we did hire the consultant. Yeah,
Okay.
to come in and start
We have
talking
that
about that.
contract.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Auditor Walter, can I ask you a quick question? I forgot to ask you when you were up here, so like on that black box, and some of that infrastructure that we're looking at, is that something that we would be able to use the American Rescue Funds for?
Well, I didn't hear the beginning of it.
With your project, that was a question I was gonna ask you. Are we able to use the American Rescue funds possibly for that,
For some of the
for some of that stuff?
remediation, I'm gonna look into that.
Okay.
As you were talking, I was thinking the same thing.
Okay,
I know the American Rescue Plan is more restrictive than the previous plan,
right.
and I know there's some conversation of some use that we've been planning for that
Okay.
monies.
It came to me when he started talking about that too, and I said,
Yeah.
I should ask you about that, just in case.
I mean, if we can draw a COVID line to it, I think we could probably argue it, and
Okay.
I will look into that. That's a really good suggestion.
Does it have to be COVID related?
Well, that's one of the components. There's, the ARP money is broken out into much narrower margins.
Okay.
ARP specifically says if it's COVID-related, you can use that money.
Mm.
So the question is any of this remediation COVID-related? I think that work with Black Box will help us discover that.
Okay.
And that's where I'll push them, actually.
Yeah, I just thought it might be a conversation
Yeah.
to at least have.
No, that's a good suggestion.
Okay.
There's a thing in the State House report from last week that says that they're looking at expanding the uses
Perimeter.
on the parameters. So, okay.
Okay, maintenance.
Well, yeah. Morning. I mean, I was thinking at the time.
How y'all today?
Good.
Hey, Glenn.
This first one is the 25-ton condenser unit out at the new Menson Mountain building that we took over. We tried to replace the compressor on it. The compressor It's the outdated gas in this system. So went out, got some verbal and other quotes for it. Most of them were over the $50,000. They came in at $47,000, so that's why we went with.
This
You feel
is-
comfortable?
Yes, McPhillips has been working on this system when Metzenbaum had the building, so.
Okay.
There's two units out there, two 25-ton units out there. This one takes care of where all the offices are on the one side where the
Mhm.
Department on Aging is at. So this last summer, what we had to do a lot was pump up the air conditioning in the warehouse area, put some fans and blow it into the offices. So we're looking at a couple months before this gets
Because they don't have them.
ordered and everything.
Good
So
delivery.
I'm hoping
Yeah.
by summer that we'll have this done.
Yeah. These things are back ordered big time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, everything is.
Yeah, yeah.
So I gotta start thinking that way now, back order on a lot of
Mhm.
things. Another one I'm looking at is the annex condenser unit. It's working, but age is that.
Mhm.
So I don't.
How old was this one, do you remember?
This one was 22 years old.
Okay.
So, the annex is up there 20-some years. So I'm looking at that. We're gonna try to get out and get some quotes on that before that one goes down.
On this unit, what's the warranty?
The warrant, I have to look at it, Jim, I'm sorry. So,
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Yes.
Commissioner DeBoer.
Yes.
17, 18. Kevin Cunningham he is right now a maintenance worker, so he's been coming up through the ranks. He started out here with the county with us as a custodian. He's really, really excelled as a worker. He's got some computer and everything. He's always trying to get into that stuff. So we had 2 apps. Another one was coming from Cuyahoga Jail, which would have probably been really good, but he went to Lakeland, a little bit more money, and he has can't compete with, was a kid that's about 17, so the kid's looking at college, so with him working at the Lakeland, he's gonna get free college, this
Mm.
kid.
Okay.
So I can't compete with that.
And then we're gonna keep it posted, so I'll make a motion on both.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon.
Yes.
Commissioner DeBoer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Nice.
Y'all have a good.
Thanks, Glenn.
Yeah.
Good job.
Water resources.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Kathleen.
All right, number 19 today, we're requesting the board approve and authorize the president to execute the Ohio Department of Development Water and Wastewater Infrastructure Program Grant Agreement. It includes exhibits 1, 2, and 3 between the Ohio Department of Development and the Jog County Board of Commissioners. This is for the Aquila wastewater treatment plant upgrade for the period of November 1, 2021 through December 31 of 2024 in the amount of $77,500.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon.
Yep.
Commissioner DeBoer.
Yes.
The next two are just regarding personnel items. We're asking the board approve the revision to the water wastewater operator 1 position number 2326 to be effective today.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon.
Yes.
Commissioner DeBoer.
Yes.
And then on our organizational chart, we'd like to add that additional water wastewater operator 1 position to be effective today.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner
Yes.
Lennon. Commissioner DeBoer.
Yes.
The last item, we're asking the board approve and authorize Michael Kersinger, who's our network administrator, to electronically execute and submit the Spectrum Enterprise Custom Service Order and Spectrum Enterprise Service Agreement for fiber internet and Ethernet services at 470 Center Street, Merritt Road, and Chagrin River Road, locations for the period of 5 years effective July 26, 2019.
I'll make that.
Second.
Did you have something you want to
No,
say?
go ahead.
Does that go through ADP?
It will.
We're working on
This is
getting
step
that. That's
one.
part of the whole process.
Okay.
This was something that happened, couple years back, with continuing our kind of service contract that Water Resources had with Spectrum.
Okay.
This was the next contract in. Mike signed it. we're moving forward. We've come to find out that Mike shouldn't have signed it at the time. He should have got the authorization at that time.
Okay.
So trying to bring bring the Spectrum contract within the rules of the Ohio Revised Code. It will then go through ADP to get their approval at their next meeting. And then we'll be able to move forward with this contract, but we're still in the process of rolling water resources in under ADP.
Yeah.
So we'll
With the-
combine those contracts, and then it'll become, water resources will be under the Spectrum contract with ADP, but that's not, right now we have an outlier with McFarland is our issue of keeping that service going until we can get them onto the system too.
Okay. Does that is that in order with how, normally it would go through ADP and then come to us, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
but because this was already approved,
Yeah.
Mike had already signed this and it's back, we're kind of getting the approval now so that ADP can approve the contract that's already signed.
Okay, okay.
Does this process sound okay with the ADP?
This was our recommended the process was flawed at the onset. This is our recommended remediation.
Okay.
So it has to be certified, it has to be ADP approved, and it has to be, has to have a parent authority of signature. And so this solves the apparent authority of signature. ADP is scheduled to review this issue next
Monday.
Monday, I was gonna say you
And
changed it to
then
Monday.
certification is being worked out with Ron right now as we speak.
Oh, good.
And I did have a conversation with Prosecutor Flays, and he accepts this as an option also.
Okay, good.
So you have a motion and a second, so Commissioner Spudler?
Hey.
Commissioner Lemon?
Yes.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
Thanks, Josh.
Oh.
Okay, the next item is just a change order for the new building, change order number 9. There was we dropped the window, we didn't put the window in for community development off of the main hallway. This is to add that window in, so you have receptionists that can,
Oh, okay, yep.
somehow I got missed in the original design.
Sounds good.
Big Ten motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Lemon?
Yes.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
And then the next item is for archives. This is replacing Michelle's position. Actually, Sarah Gillo, I know I was going to screw up her last name. She's currently the courier. She's going to be moved up into that. This is the promoter into the position of, what was it?
Archives and Records.
Archives,
and
yeah.
Records Clerk.
Okay.
Make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Lemon?
Yes.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
Good.
Adrian is up next, but he's not here.
Okay. Do we have to sign on these?
But that's Adrian.
Yeah, I got that.
But yes,
After he speaks.
yeah, you guys have to approve the resolution.
I can't see. You don't think this is first? Oh, that's good.
Can you read this one? It's very hard to say, because you wrote it. I would like to. I had it, that's what I read, and then I did, duplicate.
Steve actually was away on his own. Find-